I wasn't planning on taking my daughter to the most expensive resort in Arizona just to sit in silence again. But after 2 years, 3 therapists, and countless failed treatments, I was out of options. My little girl Harper hadn't said a word since the accident that took her mother. Not a single one. Not daddy, not yes, not even no. So I booked us into the Eden Ridge Resort, the kind of place where the air smells like eucalyptus and money, where silence is called serenity, not a symptom. I figured maybe, just maybe, the change of scenery would stir something. God knows nothing else had. She was 6, beautiful, brown curls always neat, blue dress pressed without a wrinkle. And she was so quiet. It scared people. Guests whispered how well-behaved she was. They didn't know that her stillness was grief frozen into posture, not obedience. We'd only been there a few hours when I noticed her eyes shift just slightly toward the garden. Not a word, not a gesture, but something pulled at her. I didn't catch it until later, when I saw who she'd been watching. A hotel maid. She moved through the dining area like a shadow. Her name tag read Monica. Skin the color of rich coffee hair, wrapped up in a red scarf like a crown she didn't need permission to wear. She wasn't flashy, just present. Quiet, steady, humming to herself as she cleared tables. Harper didn't flinch when Monica passed our table. That was new. Normally, she tensed when strangers came close, but this time her eyes followed the sound, not the person. Monica was humming. A lullaby, maybe. Something old. Something warm. That night I watched from our balcony as Monica walked into the garden. She bent down by a carved stone bench and placed something there, a red paper bird. Then she left, not looking back once. The next morning, Harper was already dressed, sketchbook hugged to her chest. She pointed out the window toward the garden. I followed her down without a word. She went straight to that bench like it was calling her. The red bird was still there. She picked it up so gently I thought it might break. And for the first time in over 2 years, she smiled. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew what wasn't. This wasn't therapy. This wasn't a strategy. It was just a moment. And Monica. She watched from a distance, didn't approach, didn't ask questions, just hummed as she watered the roses. Later that afternoon, I ran into her again in the garden. She was pulling weeds, that same hum, under her breath. I couldn't help myself. I snapped. She doesn't talk. I told her probably too harsh. So don't waste your time. She didn't miss a beat, just looked up and said, "Most people talk too much anyway." I didn't know whether to laugh or curse. She didn't stop working, just kept pruning, humming, letting the silence speak for itself. And Harper, she sat nearby sketching, adding red into her drawings for the first time. That was the beginning. Each morning, Harper woke up before me, stood by the window, waiting. And each morning we went to the garden. Monica would be there like clockwork, humming, planting, sometimes leaving little things behind: a feather, a smooth stone, another paper crane. She never asked Harper to talk. She never even asked me anything. But my daughter kept watching her, kept sketching, and slowly, I saw the frost in her melt. But of course, peace doesn't last long when power sees something it can't control. Enter Preston Langston. Yeah, that Preston, the real estate tycoon who tried to swallow my company 3 years ago. The man's made of lawsuits and cologne, and now he was here at the same damn resort planning some publicity stunt, a charity gala for children's wellness. The irony nearly broke my teeth. He saw Harper and me at breakfast, gave me that oily smile. "Lovely girl," he said, still not speaking. Tragic. I nearly flipped the table. What I didn't know was that he'd recognized Monica. 5 years ago, she testified against him after a fire broke out in one of his buildings. A dozen injuries, 2 deaths, and code violations he tried to cover up. She'd been the whistleblower, and he'd buried her career in the process. Now here she was, reborn as a maid. And he couldn't stand it. At his event the next night, Preston took the stage with all the fake sincerity of a politician in trouble. But then he pulled up a photo. Monica outside a courthouse blanket over her shoulders, ash in her hair. "Should we trust people like this with our children?" he said. The room gasped. And then Monica stepped forward. She wasn't invited. She wasn't on the guest list. She was still wearing her uniform. But she walked up to the mic like she owned the floor. "Since Mr. Langston wants to share my story," she said, "let me finish it." And she did. She told the whole room how she ran into a burning building to save a child trapped because Preston's company locked the fire doors shut. How she stayed with that girl for 6 months after humming, telling stories, waiting for her to speak again. Helping a child find her voice, Monica said, isn't about credentials. It's about presence. It's about safety. It's about showing up again and again, even when they don't. Preston tried to cut her off, but it was too late. The truth was out. And then Harper stood on her chair. She clutched that red paper crane in her little hand, eyes locked on Preston, and said, clear as daylight, "Stop." One word, but it echoed like thunder. "Stop," she said again. "You're being mean." The whole room fell silent. That's when the applause started, slow at first, then building like a storm. Not for Preston, not for the gala, but for the 6-year-old girl who hadn't spoken in over 2 years, who found her voice to defend the woman who helped her feel safe again. Later that night, Harper said another word, Ava. That was Monica's real name. I sat there on the balcony staring at the red paper crane on the table, same one Harper carried everywhere now. And I realized something. All the money, the doctors, the consultants, none of it could do what Ava did with a few quiet mornings, a hum, and the patience of someone who's walked through fire. I offered her a job the next day. Not cleaning rooms, but helping launch a foundation for kids like Harper. Trauma-informed education, quiet spaces, art therapy. She didn't say yes right away. She said she needed time, said she didn't want to stop being a gardener. So I said, be both. Now, every Saturday we run something called Quiet Hour in that same garden. Kids who've been through hell come and just exist. They draw. They feed fish. They listen to birds. Harper speaks now, not all the time, but enough. Enough to lead a little boy around the koi pond last week and tell him, they like red. It means food. It means safe. And sometimes I hear her humming Ava's lullaby, under her breath, soft, like butterfly wings. So let me ask you something. What would you give, what would you unlearn to help someone find their voice again? Would you stop talking long enough to listen? Would you let a maid teach you how to heal? Let me know in the comments. Have you ever seen someone overlooked become the one who changed everything? And if this story stirred something in you, don't just share it. Someone out there might be holding their breath, waiting to remember how to speak. Ooh.